Now, there's been no shortage of NFL holdout drama this past week or even these past couple of months. And the question is why? Why is it so hard to get these players signed? Well, I'm going to give you guys my reasoning for why I think these guys haven't been signed yet. I'm going to go by player position and just pretty much be breaking down contracts and situations just so we can, get to the bottom of why certain players get paid and why certain other players don't. Now, first and foremost, welcome to my channel. My name is Tuckaluck, and this is a sports news, sports talk channel, mainly focusing on the NFL, the NBA. We might dabble in a little bit of MLB. I don't watch hockey. We don't do that. But just pretty much the two main sports. But today we're going to be focused on the NFL holdout situation and player contract value. And the first position I'm going to start off with is the quarterback position. Now, the quarterback position is the most valued position in the NFL solely because of the fact that if you don't have a franchise quarterback or even a solid, decent starter at quarterback, you have no chance of winning the Super Bowl. And it's been proven time in, year out in this league. Now, when you look at the numbers, when you pull up the contracts for quarterbacks from top to bottom, Russell Wilson has the most lucrative NFL contract at that position at $35 million a year. Given his value to that team and the position he plays, obviously the quarterback position, I would say yes, he's worth that much money. Now, when you go down the list, you see Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Carson Wentz is kind of tricky because of his injury history, but those other three quarterbacks, I would say yes, are worth the top 5 spots at that position. Ben Roethlisberger, yes, he's 37 years old, but he's gonna retire a Steeler. Aaron Rodgers is gonna retire a Green Bay Packer. He's already brought him the Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger has already brought him 2 and 3 appearances in the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan has brought him a Super Bowl. So yes, those quarterbacks, I would say, are worth that money. Now, when you go at number 6, right under Matt Ryan, and the 4 quarterbacks, you have Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Stafford, and Derek Carr. They're the next highest contracts at 28, 27.5, 27, and 25 million. Now, obviously, what have they done to earn, top 10 quarterback money? Not much. Not, if anything, nothing. Kirk Cousins has been pretty average his entire career. Jimmy Garoppolo showed signs of being a franchise quarterback, got hurt. Matt Stafford has been a average quarterback that's shown flashes of dominance at time, and Derek Carr started off really well, but at the last 2 seasons he's been porous. And they get paid more money than quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Cam Newton, Nick Foles, Joe Flacco. These guys get paid more than Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, and of course a couple quarterbacks that have been close, but not quite gotten there. Now, if we look at the wide receiver contracts in the NFL, we see some similarities with the quarterbacks. The money scale is a little bit lower for wide receivers, but there's still a high volume of, there's about 15 to 20 wide receivers that are getting paid more than 10 million per year in this league. Now, there's a couple players on this list that are iffy. I would say Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Sammy Watkins are in that top 10. They're kind of iffy given, Mike Evans has a issue catching passes at times. Brandon Cooks is kind of small, not really a complete wideout to me. He's a speedster. Sammy Watkins also a speedster, but he has injury history. But for the most part, a lot of these receivers deserve this money, and they have that value to be able to get this type of money. I think because you have a franchise quarterback, you have to give that quarterback a number 1 receiver, a big target, an option that's gonna, a bailout option or just a number 1 receiver to throw to. A quarterback's always gonna need at least one number 1 receiver. So if you're gonna pay your quarterbacks, then 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to pay your top wide receiver if he fits the bill. Michael Thomas just got paid just under 20 million, and that's what he's worth to Drew Brees. He's worth that number 1 spot because he's a big target. He can go out there and catch 13, 14 touchdowns a season, go up there and get a plus 1,200 yards and be that number 1 target that can draw the double teams and catch over the defenders, that can, be that pretty much that outlet, that safety valve for him. Now, when we go to the running backs, it's a complete 180 from what we've seen the past 2 positions. The top 3 contracts aren't even over 15 million a year. Maybe with some I don't know, maybe with some bonuses that might be. But we have Todd Gurley at just under 15, Le'Veon Bell with 13 million, and David Johnson with 13 million flat. After that, it's about a $5 million drop off from the 4th spot, at Devontae Freeman getting about $3.8 million. Why is that? Well, the running back position has been pretty devalued as of late, because there has been a lot of cheaper options at running back where you can run like 2-back sets, or you can just get a speedster that can catch out the backfield, and then you can get a powerhouse that you can kind of do some sort of, running back by committee, kind of like how the Patriots do now. They kind of do a running back by committee, and that's kind of reshaped how people pay for running backs. Also, what's reshaped it is the fact that the running back position is the least durable position in the NFL. You might be lucky to get a solid 8 years out of a top running back, and as a result of that, the value at that position has gone significantly down. So what a lot of running backs are trying to do with these holdouts like Zeke and Melvin Gordon is they're trying to get their money up front while they're still healthy, while they're still durable, while they still have that pop and can catch out the backfield. They're trying to get that money early. That's why they hold out like the year before or 2 years before their contract is up. They try to get that money early, so when they get older, they don't get shortchanged. They want to get paid what their worth is at the time at their prime. Now, later on in the video, I'll get into a little bit more specifics on how those two running back situations can be a little bit different with Zeke and Melvin. But for now, let me move on to my next position. Now, the next position we're going to talk about is the left tackle position. Now, this is another position that is very, very important for the quarterback, especially now in this league, that there's pretty much all of the quarterbacks that are in this league that are starting are all right-handed quarterbacks. So the left tackle is in charge of the quarterback's blind side. So you always want to protect the quarterback's blind side at all times. So in order to do that, you have to find quality left tackles, and you have to pay them the amount of money, because that's what they're worth. They're worth that protection for your quarterback. And there's kind of a trend here as far as how certain positions play into getting contracts. It all kind of stems to the quarterback. You have to protect the quarterback. You have to protect the quarterback's blind side, so you pay left tackles. A quarterback's always going to need a target to throw to, so you pay a top wide receiver the money that is either deserved, owed, or at the time it's just whatever the situation may be. We've seen players like sign big contracts and another player right under him come right behind him and kind of be in the same situation on the last year of his contract, and get a big deal. Maybe he was worth it, maybe not, but it's kind of just, it can be situational at the same time, and it could affect how much money a player gets. So the only position that we've seen really get devalued like that is the running back position. I don't know necessarily, I kind of know why, but at the same time, I feel like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like the running back position is just as important as the left tackle and the wide receiver position. At the end of the day, they block for the quarterback too. They can catch passes for the quarterback. A top running back in this league nowadays has to be able to catch out the backfield. And plus, a good running back takes the load off of a quarterback, so they don't have to throw that much. But I'm getting a little bit off topic. The left tackle position is kind of straightforward. It's just as simple as just being able to protect your quarterback's blind side. And there's a lot of really good left tackles out there, so you see a lot of bigger contracts. But on to my final position that I'm going to talk about in this video. We're gonna end it off with the defensive lineman position. Now, the defensive line position is another very, very lucrative NFL position. We see a lot of big contracts to go to solid players at defensive line, the DT position, the defensive ends, even some outside linebackers like Khalil Mack. Everybody knows about that, and even some other linebackers. But the reason that these positions are more valuable than, say, the running back position, and even I would say the wide receiver position, is just like the value of a defensive stopper. It's like, that's something that you can't really, you can't find that. Not that you can't find it, but it's just not easy to find. So you find a guy that can go out there and impact the defense positively, and be like a run stopper or just a leader on your defense, you pay him that money. As you know, a running back, you can just go out there and find a running back to fill a spot. You can go out there and find a wide receiver to just fill a certain spot. But a defensive tackle, that's one, they have a little bit more longevity. They are kind of in those trenches, but they don't take the beating that certain offensive players do. So that's why you see players like Everson Griffin, Calais Campbell still getting paid a lot of money at ages, 30, 31 and up. And I think the playoffs, playing the playoffs has something to do with this as well. You're always gonna need that one guy that's gonna need to come up big for you in the playoffs, and it's usually like a defensive end putting the pass rush on the quarterback, or defensive tackle stuffing a run, or also putting pressure on the quarterback, or even linebackers. Basically anything that can impact what a quarterback does on the defense is somebody worth paying nowadays. And once again, it's like another situation where the position kind of hinders on quarterback play. It's just in the other sense. So defensive guy that can go out there and disrupt the quarterback is a valuable player. A guy that can go out there and throw off Aaron Rodgers and make him throw bad passes and throw picks. That's a valuable player. Now, really quick, I want to talk about the two situations at running back with the Melvin Gordon and the Ezekiel Elliott situation. Now, I can understand why both are asking for those big contracts, but I feel like their situations are a little bit different in terms of why they deserve that money. Let's start with Zeke. Now, Zeke has a plethora of leverage, in my opinion, just given the fact that if there's no Zeke, there's no Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, ever since they drafted him, they've been heavily reliant on Zeke, and Zeke is the reason that they win, and he's the reason that they lose. If he goes out there and he can get them 100 yards and no touchdowns, they're going to win a game because they're going to have that presence of him. But if he sits out, like we've seen with the year he missed 6 games because of the suspension, that crazy year where he was playing and then he stopped playing and he came back, they went like 3-3 or 3-4, something like that, and Dak couldn't handle it because he had no running back presence, he had no Zeke presence. So given the fact of the value that Zeke has to the Cowboys, yes, he deserves every bit of what he wants. Now, there is the issue of his off the field issues, but he hasn't really been, he's paid his suspension for whatever he did the last year, that 6-game suspension, but there hasn't been really much punishment to him, so can they really hold that against him if he's already, kind of dealt with the suspension, the other things that came up, and it wasn't really, it just didn't seem like it was that big of a deal to the NFL or to anybody at that point. But regardless of that, I feel that Zeke's value to that team is plenty enough for him to be worthy of whatever he's owed. I think he's asking for the top spot, which it would be more than 14. It would probably be like 15 million something. He's 100% worth that to that team. Now, Melvin Gordon is a little bit of a different case. Now, I'm a Chargers fan, and it kind of hurts me that we're in this situation because we've offered him $10 million a year for 4 years, and he denied it. I heard it was like an instant denial. And he said, pay me or trade me, pretty much. Now, the thing with Melvin Gordon is, yes, I believe he's worth top 3 money. Given the injuries, even given all the injuries he's been through, he, I believe, is a Todd Gurley type player. He can go out there, he can run between the tackles, he can run sideline to sideline. He's elusive, he can catch out the backfield, and he can block. He's at all the traits. But the thing that he lacks is, the thing that takes away from his leverage is that we've performed well without him. Justin Jackson and Austin Eckler have proven to be solid backups for him. There's time where he missed those late in the season, late last season, when he missed, I think it was like 4 games with that bad knee or something. It was something about his legs. But we went 4-0, and we had awesome play by Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. Now, the other knock against Melvin Gordon is that he hasn't signed any franchise tags. So he's only getting paid just under $3 million. Given that's not given whatever bonuses he may be getting. That may be a little bit skewed, but his base average salary is under $3 million. So he's not getting paid a lot. So that means that he can't really afford to miss games, because one, he's going to be getting penalized for that, I believe, after a certain point, and two, he's going to be missing game checks. And another reason that makes this move hard to sign him to more than 10 million is that the Chargers are still fairly young. We have a lot of 2-3 year players that are still on their rookie deals, and guess what? In 2 to 3 years, in 1 to 2 years, they're gonna want to get signed. Perfect example, Joey Bosa. Like I just said, a defensive stopper. He's gonna want to get paid. He's gonna get upwards of 16, 17 million in 2021, I believe, is when his contract is up. But he might hold out next year. Like that seems to be the strategy, is to hold out the year before your contract ends. So he's gonna want to get paid. Melvin Ingram's contract is kind of coming up. We have Phillip Rivers, who's probably gonna want to play another 2 years. He's gonna want some money. I don't know if he'll take a discount, but I would assume we would pay him around 20 to 22 million for those last 2 years. Thinking just off the top, who else is young? Like Austin Eckler's coming up. Obviously, he's going to get a little bit of money. Keenan Allen's coming up. He's a top wide receiver in the league. He's going to want to get paid. Let's see here. Mike Pouncey, Mike Williams. Let's see. Trevor Williams. Hunter Henry's coming up. If he balls out this year, he's going to, we're going to want to sign him back. Dan Feeney, just Desmond King. Just so many young players whose contract is coming up that kind of take more precedence over the running back position, given the play that we've gotten last year from our backups. So that's the last topic that I want to speak on in this video. I know I only went through about 3 or 4 or 5 positions. Those are really pretty much the big positions that really get all of the money. It used to be once upon a time cornerbacks were getting paid a lot too, but it's not really the case now. But we're gonna end it right there. Thanks for tuning into this video, guys. Let me know down below what you guys think, your thoughts and opinions, and with that, I'm gonna be out of here. Deuces.